passionate about helping self-sufficiency experts, permaculture experts build their courses because I think it's the future of what's needed.
Who is this for and what do they need? My original inclination was to go broad, sustainability, like something very, very broad. And then I just kept niching down.
In that on your first course, should it be something quite small, a small course that's easy to get together? Because the concept of a PDC, something so huge.
Hello and welcome to the Permaculture Vine podcast. I'm your host Cormac Harkin, and today we have three guests for a roundtable on regenerative course creation. Welcome, guys. It's glad you're all here. If we just do a quick round of introductions first, do you want to go first there, Hayley?
Yeah, sure. I am Hayley and I have dogs. Sorry. I'm Hayley. I'm from Bali, Indonesia. I have a company called Thriving with Nature. And right now a ceremony's just decided to go past. That's why the dogs went crazy. I'm running off Starlink on the nursery, on a truck battery to be here for you. Passionate about helping self-sufficiency experts, permaculture experts build their courses because I think it's the future of what's needed. Sorry, there's me.
That's great. Thanks. Cameron?
G'day. I'm Australian but living in Albania, the Western Balkans. And I've just launched Eco Launch, which is a blended program online and live for entrepreneurs focused on nature-based ventures.
Amazing.
Paul?
I certainly came to the right place. My name is Paul Lynch. I'm from Ireland and I'm here in the south of Ireland in Cork. I run permaculturedesign.ie. That's my permaculture consultancy, design and teaching business. And moving more from the design and consulting into the teaching. So definitely want to learn from you guys about how to do that.
So I'm Cormac, founder of Vine Permaculture. We have a course as well on our website, PDCD Pro. It's not quite finished yet. It's been going on a while. Again, probably need a good kick up the backside to get it finished. So we teach basically, it's a post-PDC course, or even if you don't have a PDC, if you've been drawn, basically teaching digital design, how to build a website in your portfolio, just to get you started in your consultancy. So Hayley, do you want to just kick us off first there and just for an intro to regenerative course creation?
Yeah, sure. I think we're in such an amazing time at the moment. It's we're in a crossroads. There's a dichotomy happening of where the world is heading towards amazing technology, and then the world is also rejecting that very hardly to go out and be closer to nature. And but I do believe there's an opportunity here for regenerative methods, self-sufficiency, permaculture, all of those kind of things to be taught to the masses. Anyone, as long as you've got internet, and now with Elon's Starlink, you can have that anywhere around the world. Sorry, everybody. Anywhere around the world, and I think if you have a skill that is a life skill, and you might find it so easy and mundane, but it's a skill that everyone should learn. Especially, we all experienced it through the pandemic. People went back to nature. There was a majority of people buying toilet paper. I ran and bought seeds, and there's a lot of people that were on my side of the thing of trying to buy seeds and learn coming back to nature. And so those courses are needed. So if you have those skills, it's really important for people to hone those skills in a really good way. So you can create a course that's not great, that people lose interest with very quickly. So it's very important that you know the sort of right methods to make sure that someone can actually I am so sorry. But you need to make sure you have the principles so that the course, people will actually finish the course. Only 15 5 to 15% of people finish courses, actually, who buy the course and then they actually finish it. So you want to be creating a course that's a higher percentage because of you've set up certain things. So that's the first thing. You want people to be able to complete it. And then you also want it to be able to be sold. Is it something that people are going to buy? So these are two very important points when it comes to creating courses. But I think anyone with any kind of regenerative skills needs to get that information out there because it's so important.
Thanks, Hayley. Cameron?
My contribution to the regenerative renaissance is by creating a space for entrepreneurs who want to develop products or services that protect or restore nature. And so I've set up Eco Launch, and there's probably around 50 hours of online content, mostly videos supplemented by text and quizzes to reinforce the learning. And then there's also 21 live sessions. So in designing it, I was thinking, who is this for and what do they need? My original inclination was to go broad, sustainability, or something very, very broad. And then I just kept niching down. And now it's quite specific. It's for startups focused on nature-based solutions and nature tech. So it's ironic. It's a kind of a paradox that the more focused your niche, the bigger your market, because you're not competing with this generic open course. So that's one thing that an insight that I pass on for anyone thinking about a regenerative course.
100%. I totally agree with that, Cameron. Having a niche people will buy niches over broad courses any day. Rather than, doing a course on a food forest is great. It's niche, but you could go even further and go how to prune trees to produce the most harvest and do a whole course just on that, and that would sell amazingly. Those niches are really important for sure.
Yep. Thank you, Paul.
I totally agree. And an analogy I have with Cameron and the niche is when I was looking for a place to live, a place to rent, I didn't go, I'm a guy who's looking for a house, no one's going to look at that. I said I wanted a place where I could start this permaculture demo site, and I want spring water. If there's polytunnels, better. If there's orchard, better. If you're near a town, it's very specific. And loads of people started ringing me, and there's no way that would have been the case if it was just I'm a guy looking for a house,
Yeah, 100%.
It kind of tells who we are when you talk to the real estate agent, and instead of the number of bathrooms, you're talking about soil type.
Exactly.
So, Paul, do you have online courses, or you're an in-person course? Is that?
No online courses. Very little. Even I need to do some fundamental things with the website on SEO and so on. So I'm definitely in deep with the right people here to learn things.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So my course is PDC I developed last year. I qualified to teach and certify the UK permaculture design cert. So that 72-hour course, I was going through the boxes and realized actually I have to design this from the bottom up because it's got to be my course, and that was a great process, but it took quite a while, and looking forward to run it next summer sometime. So again, looking forward to hear from you how to set that up.
Amazing. Yeah, once you run it a few times in the person, it's definitely for your legacy, like not just for helping lots of people, not just for creating some extra income, but it's also a bit of a legacy thing. Like it's something that can be passed down generations, this knowledge and information. We're at that time where when books started to be the big thing, like now online courses, they say everyone has a book inside of them. I think everyone's got a course inside them. So yeah,
I sort of emphasize that more in the introduction. This is online regenerative course creation. So because I suppose that's a good starting point for topic, is like online versus in person. In person, you might be able to teach like 20 people, but online it's sort of limitless in effect. So that's why we're focusing on online creation, and it's sort of with the sort of coming from the perspective of permaculturists or regenerative designers or people working in industry. It's an excellent way to supplement your income, and I'd say share your knowledge wider.
Yeah, it's one of the most amazing things when you wake up and you've like, someone is doing my course in England, someone's doing my course in Jordan, someone's doing my course, it's amazing. We've had courses. I helped someone do trying to get away from my dog. I helped someone build an online how to build a modern natural pool course. And we're getting people from Costa Rica and Colombia and the success stories. And it's just like, you couldn't do that back in the day in just people had to fly there and people had to be there in present. And so the opportunity here, you could have 1,000 people doing your course at the same time while you're asleep. Like, think of the power and the ripple effect of information that can happen. Like, once you build this amazing course, and it's phenomenal to get feedback and testimonials. And sometimes I have to pinch myself because I've created a few courses and I have to pinch myself. I'm like, someone's just bought a course. I don't have to do anything because everything's automated, and they feel supported and they feel there. And every now and then they'll say a comment and I can answer them live and all of those. But I have given my heart and soul and all the information in that course that once, and you spend that time doing it, and it might take longer to get it all set up, but it's infinite. It's like a candle that you can light 1,000 candles with one thing. Once you build that online course, you can help educate 1,000, 10,000 people. Like, it's pretty powerful.
I think one of the first decisions to make is what the mode of the course is, because you can have it completely asynchronous, in which case, yes, you can deliver while you're sleeping and to anyone regardless of time zone, or you can have it completely and only in live sessions, in which case you can't sleep through those.
No.
And then, or there's a blended model where there's both some online content and live sessions. And one consideration, if you're going to do it live, or at least some component, is time zones. And are you going to do it as like a rolling start and you just have drop-in sessions, or cohort-based with a start and end time, and then you run it again for a start and end time? And for whom? So my first cohort, which starts in 1 week, is targeting people in Europe, Africa, and Asia. The people in New York and Brazil, they're complaining because it's 3 a.m. in the morning. But the second cohort will be in April, will be for the Americas. And if I run it, start once every 4 months, then that means twice a year, someone anywhere will have it run at a time that's convenient to them.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yep, very considerate.
And cohorts are really great courses to start with. And this is a bit controversial for some people. Some people sort of get a bit triggered by this, but often you can actually sell your course before you build it. And you can actually the week before, you work on the week's content and you sell that and you build that, and then you go along and you do your live session, you record that and add it, and then eventually after the cohort you can bring it together and turn that into an evergreen model. So you can pre-sell a course before you've even built it, which I do recommend on some level, because I've seen people build a course and then spend months and months building it and it never sold because it wasn't really what the audience was looking for. So it's one of those things. But yeah, cohort's really good as well.
Why is it controversial?
Well, some people find it uneasy to sell something that doesn't exist yet.
Politicians sell that all the time.
But to me, it's a good way to prove if it's actually people are going to pay for it. And it's very easy for you to go, look, I needed to get at least 10 sales for me to see that this is viable. I only got 2, and you refund those 2 people and say, sorry, the course isn't going ahead. And then you go. But it's a great model to do the pre-sale model.
Wow. If you can elaborate on that again at some stage during the hour, that'd be great. It sounds it's something I would never have considered.
Well, it is. Because often some people don't have big audiences. Some people don't really are still playing around with their niche, like we were talking about. And so you could have a niche in a certain area and you're trying to find what is it that people really want to learn. Like I said with the food forest model before, you could there's so many food forest courses, and never think a course is saturated, because people buy on the individual. They buy on your knowledge, your fingerprint. People resonate with you over they'll resonate with someone else. And they want to meet real people who have done what they've done. And so you could say, I'm going to teach how to focus on nuts in a food forest, and do a sort of a pre-sale course on that and see if it goes amazing. Or you could do something slightly different and then sort of test those 2 models. With you've got your PDC, so it's like, how do I make this the Paul Lynch PDC, and how do I make it slightly different? Maybe it's, is there a part of the PDC you love the most, Paul?
The aspect I love the most, I guess, is that it's going to be learning all these concepts, but through the context of actual examples rather than the classroom. My experience so far of PDCs has been good, but very theory based. And what I want to do is to actually do everything in the context of something, and then only collate these concepts at the end of the day back in the room or back in the hall on the wall, rather than the hall or the room being primarily the place that you learn it. That's I think the biggest difference. Yeah.
So you could create a course that's it's called the Practical PDC, Learn While Doing. So write that down. The Practical PDC, Learn While Doing, putting all the theory into context. That could be a byline or a subline. And so playing around with that, the bits that you love, that you're passionate about. I always talk about, have you all heard of Ikigai? Cameron has.
No.
Paul has. Cormac has. Ikigai is a Japanese term, and that's not like a yucky man, Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese term that combines 4 aspects to find your purpose in life. And it's like they call it a Venn diagram, right, Cameron? The 4 circles where it intersects. And the first thing is, what are you most passionate about? What do you love to do? Where are your skills? What do people always ask you for? What are your skills? What does the world need? What is what's needed outside? And then what will people pay for? And when you find your ikigai that combines those 4 things, that's where you want to focus your course on, because you can talk about it for days to come. You'll never feel like it's work. And so I like to encourage people to find their first course title around whatever that is.
That's brilliant, because that was going to be my next question. In that, on your first course, should it be something quite small, a small course that's easy to get together? Because the concept of a PDC, something so huge, you could end up like some of the people you were talking about, putting a whole load of work into something that mightn't fly because you haven't practiced the courses yet.
Yeah.
If I might respond, one approach is it can be modular. Now, depending on what learning management system or platform you use, you can start with something quite discrete and focused, and then build something else and something else. And then you can bundle them together into a higher priced point, more extensive course. And that also enables you to market test. So it's using design thinking in effect, because you're going out and iterating and testing rapidly. Each one is like a little prototype. But if you start with the Magnus Opus course, so your life's work first up, apart from the fact that it will take you hopefully less time than Tolkien took to create his, but it means that you might miss the mark completely. And so by having it small, you can be more agile and responsive to the level of interest. You can experiment with different pricing strategies, and then cobble together these as topics in a more substantial course.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great way to do it.
Brilliant.
You could even, Paul, take one of the principles and just do a course on that particular principle as a starting, one that's a really key that you love. And you could just start by selling a mini course, learn more about this principle in permaculture. And then, like Cameron says, start to do each of the others. And then next minute, you've got your PDC and you've made money and sort of rejigged it as you go. But the other way to do it is also thinking of the customer knowledge. What was the first thing that you were interested in learning or wanted to know or needed to know for you to get to where you are? And it could just be the basics of the 12 principles, just the very basic 12 principle course, or so there's different ways to go about it, but definitely starting small first as your first course. Definitely not your Magnus Opus and your we call it like your signature course, the one that becomes the big one. Yeah,
so we had a problem where we pre-sold, but we didn't pre-sell enough. And then is it because we didn't do the marketing right, or the course content wasn't right? So we got a lot of feedback saying, oh, this is a fantastic course. This is definitely needed. I'd love that course, but I just don't think we got in front of the right people, as in students, newly graduated students. It was people with experience were saying, oh, this is fantastic, but the students aren't buying it. So it was like, then how do you tell? Well, was it the marketing or was it the course content? So we did pre-sale. We had parts of the course are built. The outline's built. The outline's there. So that was one of the problems we had. I'll get on to the other problems later.
what's the name of your course?
PDC 2 Pro.
PDC 2 Pro. So if I saw the name of your course, I would just think that it's the second round of PDC. But your course it's about making a business out of PDC, right?
It's about digital design. So when you get your PDC and you want to open up a consultancy, you need to learn digital design, which they don't teach in a PDC. So how do you use Affinity 2 to actually produce digital drawings? How do you, and then if you go through the first 3 modules, and then you'll have learn to build a base map, learn to design on top of that, and then you'll have your first portfolio piece that you can put on the website, which we're going to teach you how to build.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the purpose of it.
And how did you market it?
Basically through the podcast. That was it. And then basically the thing was then to try and get guests that came on and contacts we had to share to their students. So basically when they were teaching PDCs, it was like, right, when you're teaching this PDC, or can you tell your students about our course? There was no budget for Facebook ads or anything like that, which I probably in hindsight should have done. And then we just posted in groups advertising it.
Well, it's never too late. I mean, there's two things that I see here. Sometimes people will tell you it's a great idea, but you don't know if it's a great idea until they hand money over, right?
Yeah.
Like that, people can think this is a beautiful course. Wow, you put so much work and effort. I'm like, okay, cool, but will you pay for it? It's like, oh no, I don't really need it. You know, they can think, oh, this is such a great thing, but are they practically going to want it? In my opinion, what you've got there is amazing. I'd be calling it the digital design PDC course or something. So in the title, it even sells itself. Playing with the name of it, so straight away people know what that is. That's one of the things when in marketing. In marketing, you have to speak to people as though they don't know your language. You need to speak it to people in a third. I know it sounds not nice, but it's at a third grade, fourth grade level, really simple, so that a kid could know what you're selling. So that's the first thing. And I think the biggest misconception is just because it didn't sell in that first pre-sale doesn't mean it's a failure. It means it's just you just have to never quit and keep tweaking the name, getting the ideas out there, finding that network of PDC teachers and maybe working out an affiliate program and saying, hey, look, we've got this thing that these people are finding amazing. It could be your sell at the end of your PDC. There's many different options there. The biggest thing is don't give up and just keep tweaking and testing and tweaking and testing until the momentum starts.
Thanks. Good advice.
Aside from marketing strategies, which is something we can talk about, in terms of how do you know, you need analytics. So if you're advertising either paid or unpaid through a platform, whether it's Google AdWords or Facebook or LinkedIn, you can get analytics on the demographics, location of the industry they're in. The analytics you can get depend on the platform you're using. But what you can do then is embed what's called a pixel in the course. And if you've got multiple courses, you can find out who's clicked on those ads, paid or unpaid. And then if it's sophisticated enough, if it's linked through to your purchasing system, you can even say, well, and of those who clicked, who bought. So, and that can be different. You might have a certain demographic, age, gender, geography, different backgrounds, who initially are attracted to the ad itself, but then it might be a subset or a different cohort of those who actually makes the purchase. And you can calculate not just cost per click, but cost per conversion. And then once you've got that data, you can refine your targeting to direct it more to those people who are buying the course. And another thing I've done is A/B tests. So you say, how do you know? You can experiment. So you might have 2 different posts, whether paid or unpaid, and then you can have different wording, different colors, different phrasing. The idea is to not make them completely different, because then even if one is more successful than the other, you won't know why. So just change one thing at a time. Change the wording, do an A/B test, get feedback. Then have 2 identical except for color, get feedback. And then what you're doing then is working out those things which you can attribute your success to and do more of that.
Yeah, it's so surprising. Like you're talking about things way more sophisticated than I've gone into so far, but the little analogies I have are even just looking at my website and seeing what posts are viewed a lot. It's so surprising. You know, I wrote a blog article about the food festival in Macroom, my local town where I'm from, and I was a guest speaker. There was a sustainability panel. I did a little write-up, nothing special whatsoever, just normal. And that's got 3-4 times as many views as any other blog post that I put in. And I was like, hang on a second, what's going on here? And I haven't figured it out quite yet, but I think that the people organizing the food festival could use that to show their sponsors, look how amazing our thing is. There's other people writing about how great it is. That's the only logical answer I have for it so far, but there's no way I would have seen that without the analytics on my site.
It could be like food, like one of those niche things, especially for a city. If people are searching food festival, Macroom, was it?
Macroom. Yeah.
Macroom.
Yeah.
Not macaroon. Macroom.
No.
Searching those 3 words, your blog, there might not be, it could be one of the reasons as well. So yeah, but it is, you don't know what is going to work. Like Cameron said, like you definitely don't want to test too many things at once, because you'll never know what's actually working and what's not. And you'll be surprised. You'll be like, oh my God, this ad or this post, this is going to go wild. This is exactly what's going to sell my course. Crickets, nothing. You don't get anything. And then you do this other one half thinking and it hits the mark and it takes off, and you're like, okay, so that's what the audience wants. And then you start modeling what works. It's really hard to predict. The first thing is to not get disheartened, because there might be a few things you'll try that won't, but just to keep trying and keep going. Eventually you'll find it.
So I think, Cameron, you mentioned earlier about platforms. So I looked at Kajabi or something like that, and you had to pay monthly, which is quite expensive. And I decided I didn't want to start paying for something and lose money. And then I eventually went for a WordPress tutor LMS. So self-posting it on my own WordPress website. So you get one course for free. I ended up buying the pro version and sticking other courses on there. What would you recommend? Put it in your own site, go through one of these platforms. Any thoughts or recommendations on that front?
I've done both. So when COVID first hit, I set up a course. Effectively, it was like a community practice or paid membership for social entrepreneurs. So people who are using business to create some positive environmental or social outcome. And I experimented with a few different platforms. And I went with a proprietary one, and it was $100 US a month. And then I realized, it doesn't have these features I want, and I couldn't build them in. So then I added in, because I wanted a community aspect, which it didn't have at that time. And so I was using Podio. And there's advantages and disadvantages. If you're not tech-oriented, like you didn't grow up coding your own games, and it can be a very, very steep learning curve, which is fine. I mean, that can be rewarding. But if you're focused just on your content and and you don't want to spend several hundred hours plus learning and then experimenting. And if you've got the budget, it can be good to go with an existing platform, but it's a really important decision, because once you've locked into a platform, we're talking about iteration, like being agile, it's actually quite difficult to get from one platform to another, because these, especially the proprietary ones, their business model is that you're locked in. And there's different types. There's ones where effectively you host it. You have your own domain name. But then there's also other platforms like Udemy, where you put your course on their platform and they manage everything. I would recommend against that, because you have no control. It's very restricted, and they take a criminal commission. So I've previously used different platforms, but now I've decided to go with WordPress. It's worth spending time researching your options about which learning management system are you going to use, and also if you've got the more complex the site, the more important it is to do your research in advance. So if you want it to be cohort based and have a community and have live sessions and asynchronous sessions, and you've got multiple things going, and you want an affiliate system, suddenly you're adding all these different plugins. They don't all work together. So you need to think about not only the features and the level of support for the plugin. Was the last update 3 years ago? Was it only 500 installations, or was it last update a month ago and there's 10,000 downloads? So think about, you need to look at the interoperability between them. And a good clue, if you're going to use WordPress, is there an integration plugin that actually gets things working together? So I ended up with a suite of plugins I'd recommend Elementor for the design. And that is really, there is a learning curve, but you end up being able to relatively easily create beautiful, really well-designed courses and promotional material. And then you need to select what the learning management system is. So I looked at all of them, and I ended up going with LearnDash. And then there's what affiliate system, and if you're going to have a forum as well, because a course is ideally two-way, not just you giving information out, but them contributing. So what forum plugin? So I ended up going with bbPress. And then are you going to have content that's behind a paywall as well as in front? So you can have some info in front, which is really good for search engine optimization and Google ranking. But if you're productizing and monetizing your knowledge product, then you want some of it behind. So how are you going to create like a membership system? So you've got a private area that only logged in members can join. So I ended up selecting MemberDash, mainly because it's made by the same people as LearnDash. So there was native interoperability. I could talk for hours just on plugins and things. So the main takeaway there is do your research in advance. And the main things to think about are upfront cost and recurring cost, and the learning curve and your natural inclination to either go insane trying to work out why is this one little thing, ending up having to do custom CSS code and custom PHP code just to tweak things, or do you just want it sort of out of the box with a higher upfront cost or a higher recurring cost? So I know that there's a lot in that, but do your research.
Yeah, because we had I used I don't know if you heard of it, Moodle. So you have a paid version of Moodle, and then you have a free version of Moodle. So I installed the free version, but then the security wasn't right. So after a couple of weeks, that came off. I tried a few different things until I settled on Tutor LMS, which much the same as you. I get it. It integrated with WooCommerce. So when you purchased through the WooCommerce on the Elementor builder as well, that it all synced in. I think that's why I went for that too. Plus the fact it was free was a good start. I wasn't really thinking down the line what I wanted, but this just gave the basic. It was like it's like a version of Udemy, only it was free.
Yeah.
And then we could host it on our own website as well, which I liked because of I didn't really want to be beholden to anybody else, to be them deciding what's shown or what's not shown. It was just send people divine permaculture, and that was it.
Well, I use Moodle for another course I haven't mentioned yet, that I teach an accredited course. It's an 18-month online diploma of sustainable operations for a registered training organisation in Australia. And it's blended learning, so it's both online content and live sessions. And Moodle is the delivery mechanism. It's where all of the student assessment guides are, the learning guides, and it's where they upload. I do my marking that way. I wouldn't recommend using Moodle for these kinds of courses that we're talking about. It's fine for a large institution, but it's kind of ugly and a bit cumbersome. It's maybe it's better than some of the others like Blackboard and Canvas. But the other thing you mentioned was the payment gateway. That's also another really important decision, because some of these programs have their own built-in payment gateway, and they might be integrated with Stripe or they might be integrated with PayPal. But who's your target audience? Say you're wanting to do a very low cost, but still a cost course targeting Africa. Well, Stripe's not in Africa. And if your payment gateway uses Stripe, how are they paying you? And even PayPal is only in 14 out of the African countries. So who's your target market? And then how are you going to get the money? So with mine, I ended up going with WooCommerce. And with that, you can actually you can plug in lots of different means. And so in addition to Stripe and PayPal, I really have a love-hate relationship with PayPal. I don't use it if I can avoid it, but often I can't avoid it. But there's also direct bank transfer. But also I used crypto. So people can actually pay me in any coin on, I think I selected maybe around 6 different blockchain networks. Now suddenly anyone now can link their bank account to an exchange and pay me in crypto. So that's another approach. Again, the message is do your research in advance and match your selection of plugins, platforms, and payment gateways to your audience.
Yeah. If I can add to that, I guess for those of you who are really, really starting and definitely not tech savvy, all of that might sound a little bit overwhelming, but don't be overwhelmed. The very first thing you can do, if you want to not commit to a monthly subscription, what you can do is start with an email course. And so I'm talking very basics. I just want to test that this concept could work. So you can sell the course, and you could actually use YouTube and do unlisted videos. This doesn't look pretty and it's not sexy and it may not be looking like a professional portal or anything. But if you want to, at the end of the day, people want the education and the information that you're sharing. And so if you want to test that very first iteration before you go and dive down the rabbit hole, what you can do is literally record your videos, put them on YouTube unlisted so no one can find them, and set up a sequence of emails that you send. So when someone buys from you, and it's talking about gateways, but I'm talking right at the beginning, maybe they transfer to your bank account, your first 10 people, and you say, this is a congratulations, you send out a welcome email. This is an email course, and the first email will come to you on this date. And then each email, daily email, and then it has a link to the video that you want to record. So that's at the very extreme basic end of how you can start to test the ideas and the courses without diving down the software. For those people who aren't tech savvy, there are softwares out there these days that are around $49 to $99 a month that will be literally, one of the ones I like is called circle.so. And the reason why I like it, and it's actually my whole platform, Thriving with Nature, is on Circle, is because you can have courses and community. And in the future, in the day and age that we're in, the future of humanity, honestly, is community. Dr. Bruce Lipton said that in 2017. The next iteration of our evolution is communities. And so having your course on a community platform that you can have both conversations, like Cameron said. Other platforms like Kartra, like a business in a box, which has your sales pages, your video hosting, your help desks, your emails, all in one platform. So you don't need to plug in and find all the different things. I lean towards those, but of course they are more expensive. But for the non-tech savvy people who just want to be able to focus on that, Kartra, ClickFunnels is another one that helps with that kind of selling of your courses. And then finally, of course, I'm going to plug Thriving with Nature because I'm building a course platform through Circle. Basically, Thriving with Nature there's a free community aspect of it. But my whole goal is to if you just want to teach something, I'm building a team of course creators to connect with the teacher, the guru, to help them build their course, and then we'll host it on our platform so that you're in an ecosystem of people who want to live that life. So you're already having an audience there. There's a whole big vision with Thriving with Nature, but my ultimate goal is for it to be the one-stop platform where people pay a monthly subscription, and every month they can unlock a course of their choice in the course library from the premium library selection. I wanted to take away the pain, because there's amazing teachers out there that just have the knowledge. They don't want to dive too much into marketing. They don't want to go down the software nightmares that can happen and probably still will. But help them have a place to have their course, not locked in. If you decide to put it on another platform as well, you can, if you decide to start learning. But it's a great way to test and start learning and putting your course on there. So I've worked with online entrepreneurs for 10 years. I actually worked in the natural health industry and helped people build their courses, and I see the pain that it is. But my passion is self-sufficiency and creating a world that's thriving with nature. So I wanted to bring my skills of being able to systemize everything and bring people who just want to teach their thing and make money from it, but in a great platform, and put it all in one place. So that's I hope that sort of adds to what Cameron said. Like, there's amazing platforms out there. Do the research, find out who do you want to be? Do you want to be that solopreneur that can manage their whole business? Because if you don't, then you want to look for more of a business in a box, but be okay with spending a little bit more on that.
A couple of things you mentioned that I really want to support and emphasize. The first one is starting small. Even if you are tech savvy, you don't jump to the most sophisticated platform because you enjoy that. as simple as possible, as complex as necessary, and starting lean. So what is your MVP, minimal viable product? And so I did some testing. So my niche is nature-based solutions. So the smallest, what is barely considered a course, is a single 90-minute session. And then you can test, are people prepared to pay for that? If they're not even prepared to pay for that, how are you going to be successful with a more substantial course? And it also enabled me to do some A/B tests. So I ran the same course with exactly the same wording and design, and the only thing I changed was the price. And I had a very interesting and surprising result. Doubled the price, I got double the number of participants. And so it's very counterintuitive. You might think, I'm nervous, I'm not sure if I'm going to sell, I better lower the price. You actually resist that, because what signal are you sending? So pricing strategy is really critical. I mean, there is, of course, there's an elasticity of demand. Some things people really need or really want, and you can increase the price, and for every % you increase the price, yes, there'll be some drop off, but some things are more elastic than others. But then there's this interesting thing where if you put a higher price, the perceived value goes up, even though hopefully the actual value is really substantial. It's really good value. So I just at the last minute increased my price by 50%. Literally before going live, I thought, I'll just add another 900 on. And so I'm interested in your perspectives on pricing. But then the other thing I want to pick up on after is the community aspect.
Yeah, the pricing is really, really interesting. Definitely test, but rather than going lower, it's not about going low. You don't, because you can never beat the lowest. You're selling your soul. What you want to do is add more value. So sell something, and it's like, what else could I add that would be value? And it could just be a spreadsheet, cheat sheet on how to do something, and that value is worth an extra $97, and so the value is going higher. So it's better not to reduce your price, but add value somehow, and just make it ridiculous. Like, I made my course so sillily valuable, that it's just you want it to become a no-brainer, even if it's $1,000. But that if I did this course, it's gonna help me improve my career, make me money, or whatever it's gonna do. That value, that perceived value, is just like, well, yeah, I paid $1,000 for that, easy. So it's about increasing the value rather than reducing the price, for sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Cameron.
I was just going to just expand on that community aspect. I think that's really critical. And there's different ways and approaches you could take. So with the social enterprise community, it was a community first rather than more course oriented. And what I found was you had to drag people to, because I set up a whole equivalent of Facebook, a private social media where people had profiles, they could follow each other, you could send messages, they could comment on each other's posts. It was basically a whole private social media. But that's a very crowded space. Everyone is already on social media and it's saturated. and people's attention span is limited. And so when it was just purely that private social media, like I couldn't even tell you how many communities I'm a member of, but only maybe 10% of them I'll log into once a month or once a week. Others I kind of couldn't even remember that I'm a member. So I call these zombie communities. And what happens is you get a big rush and people join and think, oh, this is great. And then you go back 3 months later and the tumbleweeds, and the 90% of the posts in the last few months were the course, the community facilitator or the course creator. So, but the thing is, where I found where that does work is if it's integrated with actual contact. So, like live sessions. And so what I've found really works well is getting people to post to the community within a session. And of course, then the notifications cascade out to the other members who weren't present. Or encouraging people to share. They share an update, or that they've just launched a product, or they're going to talk. And say, oh, great, put that on the community. And then it becomes alive. And so the live interactions are the key to asynchronous community success.
Thanks, Cameron. Paul, as someone who's approaching this from looking to build a course, any feedback or questions? Or
I love the sound of I can't remember I'm a member. That is just a great little soundbite. And the tumbleweeds thing just puts an image in my mind, like a cartoon, a little 10-second cartoon that you could have as one of your ads for how to build your course properly, or how to build your community, so this doesn't happen to you.
How not to.
Yeah, I won't mention any communities that came to mind when you mentioned the tumbleweeds. Loads of things come to mind, and other questions maybe for another roundtable, maybe on one, Cormac, for how to build your email subscriber list to actually get the information out. That could be a whole other podcast maybe. No, full of things to look up. Definitely going to check your stuff out, Hayley, more and have a look at it. Yeah, but I think no matter which platform one were to go to, like me, for example, I've got some fundamental website stuff and email subscriber issues to build before I can even get it out to people, So, yeah, for someone like me, what Hayley was saying, it was resonating. Someone who doesn't want to get bogged down in the tech stuff. I mean, anyone running their own business is already getting bogged down in stuff that they're not necessarily an expert in. Like don't tell anybody, but I've got no interest in business whatsoever. All the tech stuff. Like I use a drone to drone maps, and I'm like the last adopter, the last guy with a phone. And I mean, I'm running Windows 7 on this computer, I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want anything to do with it, but I know how amazing technology the drone is to get the 3D image of the site. So I'll do what's necessary to do the design, It's all to do the design, and in this case, it's to do what's necessary to do the teaching. But the minimum for me, I'm probably just going to sign up with Hayley and do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's overwhelming, and it really it's really hard for people who aren't tech savvy. But I do invite you for people to get somewhat involved and to get somewhat, like, in permaculture, you want a kind of general understanding. It's like observing and interacting, right? It's playing around with the different, having that fundamental understanding how your customer what they experience and how the money flows, those two things, the people and the money, understanding those two flows in your business is important. And there is a little bit, of technicality that you may like you did with the drone. Eventually you were like, okay, that it makes sense. There'll be some aspects that I do invite people to encourage to learn a little bit, but you don't, this day and age, it's going to get to a point, especially with AI. I mean, we haven't even talked about AI yet. It's going to get to a point, and I was listening to a podcast recently. It will get to a point where you can build a whole business with an AI. That you'll be able to, the AI will be able to go to buy the name, build the brand, and I know that it'll get to a point. It's like, I want to build this course, and you'll just have a conversation with AI, and it will help you build it. So it is going to get to a point where a lot of that's going to get free up, whether that's next year or 2-3 years from now. There's still a while for that, but AI is going to be a game changer around removing these technical obstacles. But there's a lot to go before then. But yeah,
that is an upcoming conversation we're going to have on AI, because you can effectively, sort of, for me, for like a solopreneur, whatever they call it, you can build agents and bots to do different things within your business. So you build your social media agent, you build your marketing agent, your sales agent, and these agents do a specific role. So it is going that way. That technology exists now if you pay for it. It's just making it more open source and readily available. There's something I'm studying at the minute to try and get up to speed on, because basically it's without it, you're other people are going to be using it. So if you don't get, it's something, a service you can provide and use yourself. But it's probably a different conversation.
It's a different conversation, but it's going to get to the point where you can insert videos of yourself, and then it'll build the videos of you doing the things. And it'll write the script, and it'll say exactly what you need to say, and the lips will match. I've seen it where it changed the language, and you didn't see it. The person suddenly changed to 5 different languages, and the lips moved with the language. It still was just a little bit off, but that person, they recorded it in one language, and then it changed it. So soon you're going to be able to see YouTubers from Iraq teach you something, and they've done it in their language, but you're learning it in English from them, and they don't speak English. So this is the scary technology conversation that can be a little bit overwhelming. And this is why I'm like, that's why we all need to get back to nature. that's I'm just like, yeah.
You see, this is the thing, you can have smart technology and stupid people, or smart people. There's a relationship, with the level of technology we're going to rely on and how useful the human beings are going to be. And I'd prefer to keep smart people. I'd prefer to be able to make an actual community and rely on, like, Hayley's business skills, Cameron's tech skills, Cormac, your social. I'd prefer to actually use human beings rather than start relying on technology more, and I'm not going to, like, the drone is the limit. Using the drone for the contours, as I'm willing to go, I don't want to get into AI, and I have an interest in the bigger picture too, of how much energy running this AI is going to cost. How many more data centers we need to build. That's a huge topic here in Ireland. I'm not sure, is it about to use or actually use 25% of all electricity generated very soon? So a lot of it's just a non-runner in the big picture. Of course, if for the particular YouTuber in Iraq, brilliant, he's going to love it, or in Ireland who wants to do different languages. But in the big picture, it's a road that overall isn't going to benefit people, I think.
This is this is why community, like building your course and community, and that's something we haven't really talked about. And you mentioned, I'm sorry. At least with a human baby, I could probably explain to it what's going on now. Is that beginning part of creating that community around your course, creating the humanness. And I think we're going down a dichotomy at the moment of world where there's technocracy and then there's coming back to nature and human. And so building your course on your humanness, on creating that community, which you mentioned a little bit about, is like, to be honest, having a basic course, like a really simple course. It could be a $20 course that's how to, what is it, the edges? What's the principle with edges?
Value the edges, isn't it?
What is
Value
it?
the marginal.
Yeah,
I can never remember myself.
You could do literally a $40 course on how to make the most out of the margins in your property according to permaculture, right? You could do a $20 course on that and use that as you're starting to build. It could even be just a freebie to start to build your list. But that's starting to build your humanness, your humans around you, and creating those things, I think is really, really important in these day and ages. And that's why I like the course idea, is because you are going to create that audience that are interested in what you're interested in, and you can have those conversations. So look, it's the AI technology, it's a rabbit hole. But don't let that stop you from bringing your legacy, your information into a world where you can at least change people's lives. Because remember, it's the people's lives that you want to change at the end. The technology is just the tool. Sure, it can be evil or whatever, but it's just how you use it. And I think if you keep the how many people can I help inspire, that's the sort of main thing, right?
That's great. Guys, we're running low on time. So what we're going to do is just final thoughts, and then we'll just a final a go round again. Just tell us about your course, and just getting your plugs in there.
If I can jump in with something on my mind to follow on with community, it's not just about the community of your students, but you can tap into your professional community and draw on them and draw them into it. So I've got a substantial 30K community on LinkedIn and have invited, I've got 66 contributing experts, all of whom I've got recorded interviews, they're panelists, and also affiliates. So they're registered on the system and have their unique affiliate codes, so that then they're sharing that, they're contributing value. So it's not just what I can teach, but the value of the course is the collective expertise of 66 people. So suddenly it becomes a substantial offering, which you can get a commensurate, price tag for. But it's also the marketing strategy, because you get vicarious credibility by association with all of these people, and then trickling into people's feed are the posts from all these different people in this ecosystem, reinforcing the value of the course. So think you can have a more sophisticated approach to community, but you need to build it in advance or on an ongoing basis. You want to have trust and a credible, high-value relationship with people built over time to be able to then leverage that and give more than you take, and give before you take. And then you have the goodwill, social capital build. I spend 90% of my time building social capital, and then occasionally I'll do a drawdown. When I do draw down, it's like leverage serious value to promote things. So there are a few thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go once round. Just final thoughts, Hayley.
Final thoughts. if you're thinking about creating an online course with your wisdom, I think it's worth it. I think go for it, start the journey, because it's really a game changer for anyone. It allows you to share your wisdom, have conversations with a larger audience, and just don't give up. Like, we all go through lulls of the process. It can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but I say go for it. And I'm Thriving with Nature. I'm at Reach. You can reach out to me and have a conversation. And it's so very rewarding, and the world needs your knowledge and what you've got. They want to know from you. People want to learn from you. So it's really, really important.
And you're going to teach this, aren't you, soon on the course? Just launched the course to teach. How do you launch your course?
There's a sorry, I'm just standing up. Now I have another dog at my feet. There's the Self-Sufficiency Course Creators Academy. It's a mouthful. I tried everything in my life to try and shorten that, but it's the Self-Sufficiency Course Creators Academy, or just the Academy, to help people teach. So how to build your audience, how to build your course to make it so people actually finish the course, how to sell the course, and how to scale the course. So I think Cormac's got a link, so he can put that there. So if you're interested, it's starting on the 6th of January. But if you're watching this and it's a different date or time, feel free to go and have a look, because there'll be other courses and things. But this is a particular cohort course that I'm doing. So yeah.
Thanks, Hayley. Cameron, the final thoughts?
Well, the course that I'm launching right now is ecolaunch.earth. So I'll create a coupon. What shall I call it? What's your podcast name?
Just called Vine, VINE.
Right. I'll put a coupon code to give 20% off with the coupon Vine. So ecolaunch.earth. I really appreciate this opportunity. It's been good to reflect and also learn.
So your course, Cameron, say I'm trying to start up a business, so I do your course, and what can I expect in that course?
It's effectively an accelerator. So it's got both online content with all of these experts in that niche, talking about opportunities, technologies, trends, the things that and also very practical. A lot of them, rather than drawing my academics, they're all practitioners. You're doing the work. And then there's 21 live sessions. So it's cohort based. So there is a cohort starting now, best suited to Europe, Africa, and Asia. But then there'll be one suited to the Americas in April. So it's for entrepreneurs who have a startup, or those who would like to get into that space. So people who would maybe have an idea to start a nature-based business, or would like to work for one.
That's great stuff. Thanks, Cameron. Paul, any final thoughts?
I've learned so much. Thanks, guys. And if you want to know when my courses are starting, you can sign up on permaculturedesign.ie to my newsletter, and it'll be full of full of info very soon about courses that are starting. Actual courses that are planned, as usual, winter pruning in person down here in Cork in Ireland. That'll be probably late January, and there will be full permaculture design course here in Ireland in the summer. A date to be announced soon. That's about it. Yeah. Thanks a million,
great.
Cormac. Oh yeah, and other thoughts are Cormac, more of these panel discussions on other specialist topics, such as building your newsletter following, etc. Businessy stuff that a lot of permaculture design people really don't have the natural talent or inclination towards, but have to do.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Hayley. Thank you, Cameron. And for the audience, if you follow everybody's links in the description, they find out more. And if you head over to our blog as well, vinepermaculture.com, sign up for we have things there for beginner gardeners, intermediate design, getting into how to design your garden, and then resources as well for the professional resources like Hayley's courses and other people's courses. We try to sort of curate different content from people, sort of guests we've had on the podcast, and it's all links to theirs at all different levels. So it's a good resource, good starting place to go and find out what everybody's doing and what's available. So guys, thanks very much. And that's been the Permaculture Vine podcast roundtable on online. Build your online. I forget now. See you. Cheers.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.